Samdesh, I'll introduce you as what? Awaz?
Yeah, wait, wait.
Huh? Awaz, yeah. You're the convener, no?
Yes.
Convener. No?
Yes. कोणाचं तरी वाजलं.
Start.
Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, take.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here once again to discuss and deliberate on a burning issue which concerns lands, livelihoods and futures. Unfortunately, both the issues that we're going to take up today are somehow interlinked, and it has to do with ultimately people's lives and how their past is getting completely ruined by the present and ultimately destroying the future. The two issues that we are taking up today, one is a battle that has been fought by the villagers and people all across coastal Salsette stretching into Murbungao, and we are talking about the land acquisition with regard to the double tracking project, which has ultimately led to an absolute disbalance of a power equation where people power is completely coming up against state power, and the brutal land acquisition process is taking place in a manner which is completely inhuman and inhumane. Apart from this, we will similarly look at a parallel and an equally strong agitation that has come up, and this also has got to do with the expansion of the national highway in the Bhuma area. If I'm not wrong, the taluka is Ponda, right?
Yeah.
Taluka is
Yes.
Ponda, correct?
Ponda.
Yes. And this expansion plan also will lead to an acquisition of roughly about 45,000 square meters, out of which 1,030 square meters is actually temple land. These figures seem to be somehow dismissed as being trivial and not of consequence by the powers that be. The whole agitation has been literally dismissed as saying that about 4 houses will go, and a different alignment is not possible rather than the current alignment, which is going to cut through homes and lands. So the idea is that, we brought both these issues together because it is the same conflict. The narrative is the same. The spirit of the agitation is the same. The idea is that when you do infrastructure projects, why do these infrastructure projects have to be done in a manner that is so conflicting with the people when there are other alternatives available? That is the key point. The key point here is that when there are other alternatives available, why don't we look at them rather than get into an absolute face-off with the public in a manner where it always seems like a David versus Goliath fight. But we all know who won at the end. I thank all the panelists who are here, all experts in their own right, and very importantly, stakeholders in this entire battle. I'd also like to point out that, as always, we try and reach out to both the government and the players on the quote-unquote the other side. The Southwestern Railways consistently refuses to be a part of any such debate, and unfortunately the government of the day was also invited to be a participant in this particular discussion so that one could sit across and deliberate, debate and discuss points, but the government flatly refused to send a representative for this discussion. So as always, and we are not surprised, in spite of our attempts to do so, we do not have anybody from either the Southwestern Railways or the PWD here to discuss both the issues. The panelists, firstly on my extreme right is Advocate Leona Barreto, who is a lawyer for the Welsau villagers and looking into these issues. And welcome, Leona, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Orville needs no introduction, the convener of Goenchua Court, and in some ways the face of the people's agitation, not only in the coastal area but across as well. Orville, thank you again. Advocate Swapnesh, of the convener of the Goenchua Avaz group, has has been in the forefront of all these issues across, and has been a both a guide and a supporter of the people, giving them a lot of advice and inputs in this long battle ahead. And on the extreme left, we are very privileged to have Sanjay Naik, who's one of the leading lights in the protest against the Bhoma road winding road, and he has decided to take this battle head on the streets and in the courts. Leona, I'll start with you. If you can just outline the current issue that we are debating, I'll just briefly narrate it. This is with regard to the final land acquisition, which the railways has said they dismissed all other objections of the people and are now doing the final acquisition, where they suddenly issued a notice on the 1st of August stating that all the lands of the villagers will be taken away, and they asked the villagers to surrender the lands. And a notice dated on August 1st reached many homes, many people on the 26th and 27th, if I'm not wrong,
right.
giving them just 3 days to even understand what it is. It's like a advanced death warrant coming to your house, and you being told that come and surrender your future in 72 hours. That's exactly what happened. Anyway, so this is with regard to this acquisition of 0.9985 hectares in the villages of Kurchore, Kakora, Savorde, Shelvon, Sauzude, Areal, Shandor, Girdoli, Velsau and Resorsi. Over to you, Leona.
Yes, so just 2 days before, the villagers of Pale and Izorsi were called with a notice to the deputy collector, the Mamladar in specifically stating that their land would be taken over by the railway, RVNL. And when they were called on via the notice, it was only the survey number that was mentioned and the names of the people were mentioned. So as usual, the people that were there were devastated. They didn't know what to do with the notice that just came 2 days prior. However, when the notice was given, it was given under the Railway Act 1989, and there was no specifics as to what property exactly or how much measurement exactly the railway is asking. All that was there in the notice was the survey number and the names of the people, which also included tenants, munkars, and the owners, rightful owners, who had their ancestral houses from ages. And however, through that notice, there was nothing specific given, and it was given under the Land Acquisition Act. So when we went to the Mamlatdar's office, we raised our objection there as to the villagers do not want to surrender their land to the railways. Yes.
Okay. Or we'll just take off from where she left off. If you can just, for our viewers, just put the context of this current agitation with regard to the final acquisition.
This particular incident that has happened 2 days back.
Yes.
Say we'll take one survey number 18 bar 1. The land that is deemed to be in that award is it belongs to 17 or 18 parties,
Right.
but that figure is that 5 crores 35 lakhs is clubbed together, and nobody knows, because they are all adjacent. The houses are all
5
adjacent.
crores 36 lakhs is exactly what?
Is the amount of the award for that particular survey number 18 bar 1.
Of one survey number.
Of one survey
okay,
number.
okay. That's the award.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm referring to only that.
Okay.
So now these are all neighbors, next door neighbors, Nobody has come there and measured. See, when you make an award, the primary thing is that you should have a land survey done.
Right.
No such physical survey was conducted. So people they are not aware now whether which part of their land is to be acquired.
Right.
Just behind this plot is the land which is deemed to be in operational use of the railways. Right? It's about a buffer zone of about 10 meters width.
Right.
Now this particular land, it doesn't have a survey number, and this is all through from Murmugaon to up to Koleng. That whole stretch of land on either side of the tracks doesn't have the survey number.
Correct.
Now in its haste to accord or hand over this land to the railways, the government of Goa, see now, look at this, how they are conniving with the central government. The government of Goa is they issued a notification to the Goa Gazette to conduct a survey. Now, how do they conduct a survey? Sitting there quasi offices, nobody has come down on the ground.
Yeah, so that's one part which is
Yeah.
important. But I think we should also kind of focus on the other fact that the basic land acquisition for which they had sought objections and which they very cruelly
Correct.
dismissed. Now that the process of that acquisition is also going on.
All those
I'm talking about
objections,
yeah.
those 26 objections
Yes.
in these areas,
Yes,
they all dismissed.
correct.
The grounds being that some of them do not, these are environmental laws.
Exactly, correct. Yes.
So they say it is not under the purview of the Railway Act 1989.
No, my point is
Yeah.
they issue a notice on the 1st of August.
Okay.
The notices arrive on the 26th of August.
Right.
And you're given 3 days.
Correct.
Now the point here is that they were told to come and literally surrender the land.
Exactly.
Which the people have outrightly refused.
Refused.
And these kind of refusals will happen in village after village.
Hopefully,
after.
yes.
So what happens after that? Because what happens is technically they can turn around and say that you are disobeying or you are dismissing a government order by
Correct,
law.
correct.
The people are completely right because they are emotionally charged and they feel they are being completely wronged and they are going to refuse. So what is the next step? What's going to happen? It's a direct clash now.
It is a direct clash.
Yeah.
The only option we have is to take the legal recourse.
Right.
There is no other option available.
But you
to
all
us.
could have taken the legal recourse immediately. Why wait till the last moment
No,
to take the legal recourse?
We got a notice.
Notice just 3 or 4 days before.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
That's absolutely correct. But
Yeah.
the point here is that you all knew that this was coming.
No, this particular land is already under litigation. It is already
Okay.
admitted in the High Court.
The entire,
There is this
I mean,
case-
all the survey numbers, or you're talking about only
Only
one?
of these particular areas.
Huh, no, I'm saying the entire, all these 10 villages. Everything is under
No,
litigation.
see, most of the villages, unfortunately, did not approach the courts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was something which the villagers, certain areas, they were not convinced.
So
know,
you're
that,
essentially saying is that out of 9 villages, there'll be many villages which will ultimately openly surrender as well.
we cannot
And
say
there's
that
some-
because
okay.
now what is happening
Right.
because of the opposition in specifically in Valsam, Pali, Sorsi,
Right.
Arosi.
Right.
Now the villagers in other areas also are coming turning
Coming up
around.
and doing it. Okay, okay.
There is this case of Mr. Shiko
Right.
in Shandor,
Right.
where he's gone approached the High Court. Much
Individually. Or after
much
this.
after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sapnesh, I'll come back to double tracking, but I'd like to introduce the other subject at hand with regard to Bhoma. Now, the issue is some of us may know a little about Bhoma, some of us may not know anything about Bhoma. People like you would know everything about it. I just want to, firstly, for many of our viewers who are only now getting into the Bhoma issue, if you can just outline a little bit as to what the issue really is to educate the people, then we'll get into the larger discussion.
Just slight correction before going into the actual aspect of
Yeah.
the Bhoma issue. I am not an advocate by profession. I am an engineer.
Correct.
And
No, I didn't say you're an advocate at all.
No, you said while introducing. So just a correction. I'm not an advocate. I'm an engineer. And in this Bhoma issue, there is a road, national highway, which is passing across the village. There are multiple residential houses, temples are just adjacent to the village. Many
right,
people must
right.
have gone in that area, must have experienced it in person. So this, when government is proposing for widening of that road, all these areas, these houses, temples, everything will be getting affected.
Right,
Now
right.
government very well knew about this. So as a solution, before going into the expansion, it was presumably proposed by IITian Mr. Parikar. So he had anticipated this problem as and when this road widening would come, that there would be a problem, that temples would be affected. There are many residential houses of the villagers which have been staying there for centuries now. So their houses, their residential houses, temples, their
Right.
associated culture related to that temple, everything will be affected. So anticipating that, a bypass was proposed to this entire area wherein the bypass is not affecting anyway.
Right.
But the purpose of having a continuity in the road network was getting resolved. So
Right.
it is there in the regional plan, which present government don't want to adopt
Adhere
that.
to. Right.
Adopt
And this
that
highway
bypass.
starts from which point and ends at which point? This
As far as Bhoma is concerned, it starts from Mayses and it goes to Kundem Industrial
okay,
Estate,
okay.
that road,
right.
that stretch.
Right.
So when a bypass is available in the plans, the prevailing plan, which is regional plan 2021, government don't want to adopt to that solution, and government is neither willing to give a satisfactory answer as to why they don't want to go into that bypass provision which
So
is
what
available
according
on
to
record.
you is the reason for this?
They have to come back and tell us, see, in this bypass which is proposed, the larger tract, that is survey number 18 and 19, is already in government's domain.
Right,
The
right,
survey number clearly shows it is government of Goa which is holding this land.
right,
So 30% of the land which is there in the proposed road is already government's land.
right.
Subsequently, going ahead, there are some real estate speculators who have procured that land, which is
You're talking of the
Bypass.
alternate bypass.
yes.
Real estate people have procured that land.
Real estate
Okay.
people have procured that land.
Right.
In somewhere in 2021, under section 16B of TCP Act, government has also proposed to drop this bypass
Right,
for the benefit of the real estate people.
right, right. Okay.
So here the government is basically what they are trying to do.
Huh.
They are trying to ruin the locals for their crony benefits.
This 30% of government land is which land? The
In the
current land?
bypass.
In the alternate bypass.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
It,
okay.
They need not acquire it now.
Right,
no,
right,
it
right,
is
right.
already government's land.
Right, right, right. So you're saying the alternate bypass is completely doable.
Exactly.
Right,
And
right.
it was proposed by an IITian, Mr. Parikar. He, see, by default, being an engineer, he was in a better position to give a solution to a
Correct.
problem. And this is a problem.
Right.
And government of the day is actually facing that problem because people are up in arms now.
So tell me that from 2010, when this agitation happened during the Digambar Kamath government, to 2023, which is almost say 13 years, what was happening in these 13 years?
Let the villagers themselves answer that because
Okay.
they had been to the court, they have got the orders in their favors in
Right.
the past,
Right.
which actually resulted in this having this bypass on the plan.
Right, right, right.
But
Okay.
present government don't want to take that.
Okay, Sanjay, please carry on and answer the same question as to what were you all doing from 2010 up to
Sir,
2000.
I'll be very comfortable with Konkan.
Please, please, sir.
So,
Yes, 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 please. Yes.
आमकां दिसता सर 2010चे बॅटल 2010 आनी 11चे बॅटल आमी जिखले कशे पूण आयज आमकां कळोन येता ते बॅटल अर्देच उरलेले हो जो अलायनमेंट आसा तो 2010 काँग्रेसीन जेन्ना लेआउट काडलो तेन्ना आमी एजिटेशन केले आनी त्या टायमार हेच सरकार जे आयज रुलींग करता जे आयज आमकां काबार करूंक सोदता ते त्या टायमार ऑपोजिशनान आसले जो काँग्रेसीन लेआउट काडलेलो ते हेजेर एजिटेशनाक जेन्ना आमी भायर सरले बाबा कितें तरी पळयतले म्हण तेजेर तेन्ना आमकां मनोहर पर्रीकर जेन्ना ऑपोजिशन लिडर आसलो तेणें सपोर्ट केलो तेज्या बरोबर मातानी साल्टना आसलो मागीर श्रीपाद नायक आसलो तो राजन नायक आसलो कुंकळेचो तेज्या भायर विष्णू वाघ आसलो आनी जी फूल BJP बॉडी आसा जी गोंयान आतां हें आसा ती आमच्या फाटल्यान आसली आनी हें बॅटल जिखपा खातीर त्या टायमार आमी एक कमिटी काडलेली NH4 डायवर्शन कमिटी म्हणून तेजो कन्वेनर आसलो सुनील देसाय हो सुनील देसाय संजू देसाय आसा पळय हेजो BJPचो तेजो भाव सेक्रेटरी तेजो भाव सो तेज्या हितूंतल्यान आमी ती गेली आनी हेडेड बाय मनोहर पर्रीकर आनी जितले गोंयान NGO आसा ते टायमार जें कितें आमचेर जो अलायनमेंट काडला तो खंय तरी चुकीचो आसा तो खंय तरी गुगला वयल्यान केल्लो ग्रावंड रियलिटी नासली तेका ग्रावंडार येवन तेजी सर्वे जावंक नासली सो ते कारणान आमकां जितले NGO आसा गोंयान तितले NGOनी आमकां सपोर्ट केलो आनी ते टायमार आमी 2010 जो एजिटेशन स्टार्ट जालें ते 11 आमकां ऑर्डर मेळ्ळी तुमची जी ऑब्जेक्शन आसली ती आमी ग्रांटेड धरता आनी तो स्क्रॅप करता तेन्ना आमकां दिसलें कितें ते टायमा वयलो जो एक्विजिशन ऑफिसर आसलो पळय एंटनी डिसोजा तेणें आमकां खूब हेल्प केलो कित्याक तेकाय दिसलें हें जें चलता पळय तें रॉंग चलता तो आमकां घेवन प्रत्येक स्पॉटाचेर गेलो मोले टू पेडण्या पर्यंत आमी NHIचे ऑफिसर मागोवन घेतले तेणें हांगासर NHIचे ऑफिसर येयल्या बरोबर तांकां गाडयेन घेवन आमी फूल स्ट्रेच भोंवले आनी ते भोंवल्या उपरांत आमकां अशें दिसून येयलें हो जो आसा पळय तो अलायनमेंट बरोबर ना आनी जेन्ना ते बोमा एरियेन सांजची 7 जाली आमकां सकाळीं भायर सरलेले सांजची 7 जाली ते जेन्ना 3-4 जाण ऑफिसर जे दिल्लीसून येयल्ले ते जेन्ना आमच्या हेजेर पावले तांकां गाम सुटलो ते पळोवन देवळांनी हें तेणी 1-2 मिनटाचो टायम काडिनासलो नासतना सांगलें आमकां बाबा रे हांगा हो हायवे केन्नाच जावंक शकना तेन्ना रोखडेच 2 दिसांनी आमकां ऑर्डर दिली आनी तो स्क्रॅप केलो. आनी आयज पळोवंक गेले जाल्यार 16 आमकां अशें कळोन येयलें, जेन्ना हें एजिटेशन चालू आसलें तेन्ना सुदीन जो आसा, सुदीन ढवळीकर, तो ते टायमार आमच्या एगेन्स्ट हालचाली आसल्यो तेज्यो आनी तेका आमी टॅकल करताले त्या टायमार. एक्चुली PWD मिनिस्टर आसलो तो चर्चिल आलेमो आसलो, पूण सुदीन ढवळीकराचो हितून खंय तरी बॉम्बाच्या हितून हातभार लागतालो. सो तेकाय टॅकल करता आसतना आमी खूब त्रास पडले आमकां. जेन्ना आमी बायपास दाखयताले, एक्चुली आमकां बायपास आसा म्हणून खबरूच नासलें. आमचें म्हणणें आमी बेजिसाचेर झगडटा, कितें तरी लॉजीक आसा झगडपाक. गोमकार जे झगडटा तेका कितें तरी लॉजीक आसा. तें लॉजीक आयज तुका सांगूंक सोदता आनी लोकांक गोंयचें सांगूंक सोदता हांव. आयज जेन्ना 2002 मनोहर सरकार आसलो, BJP सरकार, हो तेजो हे आसलो पर्रीकर, त्या टायमार 2 वर्सांक तेणें राज्य केलें हांगा. त्या टायमार तेणें बायपास काडलो बोमान, तो आमकांय खबर नासलो. जे टायमार एजिटेशन स्टार्ट जालें 2010 त्या टायमार जेन्ना आमी पर्रीकरा कडेन गेले, त्या टायमार तेणें PWDच्यान बूक मागून घेतलो आनी तो सर्वे आमकां दाखयलो. तेन्ना आमी सरप्रायज जाले, बाबा बोमान बायपास आसा म्हणून. आनी ते बायपासाचेर एकूय गल लागनासलें, कोणाचेच कितें डिस्टर्बन्स ना, कोणाकूच डिवायड जायनासलें. जे नॉर्म्स वाजपेयीन घातलेले पळय 2002 ते नॉर्म्सा प्रमाणे ते एकदम क्लियर कट वयताले सारके. तेजेर आमकां खंय तरी न्याय मेळटलो हेजी आमकां आस जाली. आनी 2011 जेन्ना आमकां स्क्रॅप म्हणून तो मेळ्ळो तेन्ना आमकां दिसलें खंय तरी. आनी त्या टायमार कितें केलें, जे टायमार तो स्क्रॅप जालो रोखडोच पर्रीकारान ऑर्डर दिली आनी तेंची एक कमिटी काडलेली 10 जाणांची. तेका कितें तरी नांव आसा, 10 मेंबर कमिटी आसली ती, हेडेड बाय दिगंबर कामत. तितून रितू प्रसाद आसली, आमचो सुनील देसाय आसलो, पर्रीकर आसलो.
हाऊस कमिटी.
हाऊस कमिटी, येस, हाऊस कमिटी. हाऊस कमिटीन रिपोर्ट दिलो आनी तेका सांगलो उत्तम पार्सेकर, तेन्ना रेगो ह्या चीफ आसलो PWDचो. रेगोन ऑर्डर दिली 60 crores ताणें एक्स्ट्रा घातले त्या रोडाक आनी तो बायपास रोड प्लान केलो आनी आमकां असेंब्लीन व्हरोन तो दाखयलो कसो येतलो तो. आनी त्या प्रमाणे आमकां म्हणजे स्क्रॅप जालो, आमी सुशेगाद आसले तेन्ना. आनी आयज खंय तरी 16 आमकां कळोन चुकलें, जेन्ना पर्रीकर वयर गेलो सेंट्रलाक तेन्ना लक्ष्मीकांत पार्सेकर हांगा चीफ मिनिस्टर आसलो. तेन्ना खंय तरी वास लागूंक लागलो हेणी भितरले भितर कितें तरी केलां म्हणून. त्या टायमार आमी म्हाजी आनी लक्ष्मीकांत पार्सेकराची 5-10 मिनटांक एक भासाभाजी जाली एक इनॉग्रेशनाक. त्या टायमार कितें जालें, त्या टायमार हांवें तुका तांकां विचारलें, जो अलायनमेंट आमी झगडोन तुमच्या हातीन दिलो, आयज जो अलायनमेंट काँग्रेस करतले आसले तो अलायनमेंट काडून तुमकां दिला. जे हेंची हे एका सॅक्रिफायस केल्ले आसा, 8-9 म्हयने हेणी त्रास काडले, आमी तुमकां काडून दिला आनी तांकांच आयज तुमी मारपाक उठले काय म्हणून. त्या टायमार तेणें कितें सांगलें म्हाका, तुमी कांयच भिवो नाका, हेजेर सॉल्युशन काडपाक तुमकां विश्वासान घेता आनी जसो सुटेबल आसा तसो आमी तो काडया. ते उतराचेर आमी सुशेगाद रावले आनी त्या टायमार ते पयशे परते केले. जो आतां पळय फाटल्या दिसांनी सुदीन ढवळीकर कुणूय प्रॉब्लेम जाला तेन्ना सांगतालो पयशे परते केले म्हणून, ती गोश्ट. आनी आतां सडनली पळय जाल्यार आमकां कांयच इंटिमेशन ना, आमचे कडेन कांय डिस्कशन ना, पंचायती कडेन कांय ना, कोणाच कडेन कांय ना. सडनली आमकां एक्विजिशन नोटीस काडली. आनी आयज जेन्ना 15-20 जाणांक भोमचे जेन्ना आमकां पयलीं कळ्ळें, आमी फायल केली थंय, म्हणजे ऑब्जेक्शन फायल केलें. खंयचेच बेजीस धरनासतना जे एंटनी सेम जे आमी पळय तेन्ना मांडलेले तेच आमी एंटनी कडेन मांडलेले, तेच शेटकारा कडेन मांडले. कांयच आमचें आयकून घेयनासतना कंप्लीट भायर मारून दिले आनी डायरेक्ट आमकां गॅझेटार घातले. आनी गॅझेटार घालता आसतना अर्दो जो वाडो आसा पळय, आतां नागझरकार म्हणटा पळय, तेंचे कशें आसा 6/1 आनी 6/2 घालता आसतना कशें तांकां फटयले, 6/1 आनी 6/2 म्हणून घातले. त्या टायमार तांकां बावड्यांक कळोंकूच ना, कित्याक ताजो एकूच भाटकार. आतां म्हाजें एलिगेशन हें आसा, हो प्रश्न जो आसा तो नॅशनल हायवे म्हणून ना, ही भाटकारशाही आसा BJPची. कित्याक हे हितून तेणी कितें केलां, जे मुणकार आसा पळय तांकां काबार करपा खातीर हे षडयंत्र जातलां. जी 45,000 जी जागा पळय वयता ती खंय तरी भायर पावल्ली आसा. जी आमची कुळाकारां आसा सायडीक, जे लोक रोयता, जे माडयो आसा त्यो सगळ्यो नश्ट जाता, जी झाडां आसा, आंबे आसा, नाल्लाची झाडां आसा ती सगळी नश्ट जाता. ही खंय तरी भाटकाराचे कोण करता, ही सगळी मुणकार आयज ते पळयता. ते पुर्तुगेज टायमारसून तेंचे कडेन आसा, ती खंय तरी काडून भाटकाराच्या हातीन दिवपाचें हे BJP सरकाराचें षडयंत्र आसा.
Sapnesh, he talks of the Bhatkarshahi of the BJP government, of course, and these sentiments are very important to take note of. Now, this 45,000 square meters is the total amount of land which will ultimately get acquired, correct?
Yes.
And which
Of the Boma, sir.
of the
That is
Boma.
not
Of the
the entire
Boma.
village.
And not entire village. There is one more stretch.
Correct. So this is
Yeah.
only the Boma area, correct?
Boma, no, only Boma,
In
two,
Boma
in two
area,
parts. They are
almost
divided into two parts.
60% of Boma area's road stretch is 45,000 square meters what they want to acquire.
The 60%. Okay.
I
Yes.
think more 30 will be included.
Okay. So you're saying 60% of the Boma stretch
Yes.
is about 45,000.
45,000.
And the rest 40%.
Rest, yesterday what Mr. Nilesh Cabral was saying that it was acquired in 1992. That is what his claim is. That needs to be checked in fact from our side.
Okay. And this temple acquisition is about 1,030 square meters is of the temple.
Yes, yes.
Temple
That
area.
is there
Temple
in this
In
land
Devasthan
acquisition.
area.
And that will also
Devasthans.
go.
Yeah.
That they are proposing to acquire. Now, yesterday's justification was Mr. Nilesh Cabral was giving. He is saying that he is not going to touch any part of the temple.
That's what he said. He
Yeah,
also
but
said that only 4 houses will go. Now, on where is this figure of 4 houses coming? No, because he must be saying with some logic.
Now, his logic is that the houses which are there on survey plan, which
Legal,
was done
legal.
in the 1970s,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
those houses he is considering as legal now.
And the other houses?
Other houses are
illegal.
built on gutters, no. That is what he said in the assembly.
Right.
Other houses are built on gutters. And in the very same assembly, when Mr. Viresh Borkar cited about those illegal bastis, he started jumping. So that means he is more interested in protecting those illegal migrants and our Goan houses he is stating and giving a term like those are constructed on gutters. This is what our existing MLAs and ministers are doing. This is the way how they are treating locals now.
That means the other homes will not get any benefits and they will not be treated as legal at all.
No, that is what he is stating yesterday. Those are illegally constructed. That is what he is saying now.
So the impact of those words is very important. What you all are saying is very critical. You all are saying that the 4 houses the minister is talking about are the 4 houses that are legal in the eyes of the minister or the government.
Yes.
But there are other houses where a lot of local Goans are living. I mean, Goans are living. But those houses have been termed as
Illegal constructed on
gutter.
gutters.
Right. Okay. Okay, Orville, I'll quickly switch back to, though both the issues are completely linked, but the point is the insensitivity is prevalent in both Boma and the other issues. Before I ask a specific question again with regard to the double tracking, if you could tell us, sir, how, I mean, are the villagers or are the people in the forefront of both these agitations? Do you all see any common ground where you all can come together and help each other out?
Definitely. Just now, as
Sapnesh has said.
Swapnesh has said, you know, that there were only 4 houses which were in those which are affected.
Right.
The similar scenario also exists in Molo, for example. Now there are residents who have not received any notices. Why?
Right.
They have not received notices because their houses were post 71.
Right.
Understand?
Okay.
So now those people are excluded from this notices.
The whole process.
The whole process.
Right.
So the other day when we went around,
Right.
my colleagues went around, we asked them why you are not attending. Say we have not received notices. Now only those houses which are registered, you know, in the survey, only those have been they have received.
So how many such people would be there? How many such survey numbers?
We maybe around about 9 or 10 houses. So each house maybe have about 8-10 family
People.
members.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So you are talking about close to 100.
Close to 100
residents
people are going to get
in that
affected.
area. Yeah.
Okay. And there has been no conversation with them, no discussion,
No,
nothing.
they have earlier filed their objections.
Right.
When the first acquisition process had started. But
Right.
this last notification, they have been excluded.
Okay.
Now, that means the authorities are, trying to ignore their claims.
Okay, there's another issue that you briefly alluded to. See, apart from this acquisition that is taking place with regard to the original notice and the awards that are going on, you very rightly mentioned, and we were discussing this also. See, what has happened is there's a very crucial aspect that viewers need to know. This called the buffer zone. I would call it the buffer zone politics, as it were.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, this whole buffer zone that exists between the railway tracks and the home and the houses.
Yeah.
Now, this buffer zone technically is something that the railways is claiming according to the particular act.
Exactly.
because the Act says that that the operating area of the railways is going to be, even if there is a land which is not part of the railways.
I don't think that that particular term exists in the Railway Act.
Right.
They say it is the operational use of the. They have coined this new term.
So you are actually saying that this operational use of the railways
it's
is beyond any act.
Yeah.
It is like a claim that has been acquired.
Yes, exactly.
Including with the land.
And
Okay.
what they say exactly, because see, if you see the topography of that area, the railway is at an elevated level.
Right.
The village, that hamlet is at a lower level, I think about 2 meters lower level.
Correct.
Now, when they are claiming that part of that land adjacent to the existing railway track to be
To be theirs.
To be theirs.
Okay.
How can it be? Because the villagers have been they have their banana plantation. They have the coconut palms. They have their other fruit bearing trees like mango and all.
Right.
Which they have been they have been even going for commercialization.
Right.
Selling it, the yield to the market, whatever the excess.
Correct.
So the land actually, if at all, it should have been to the residents out there.
Right.
The
Right.
Mulkars. I will put them as Mulkars.
But tell me, how much of this buffer land is in question now?
See, all along the tracks.
All along the tracks.
On an average, somewhere it is 12 meters, somewhere it is 8 meters. So on an average, it is about 10 meters. Now this particular
You're saying
land.
only in the Murmugaon and
No,
Salsett Taluka
it
villages
is
all
throughout.
Okay.
On either side of the tracks.
Right.
Now this, during the summer, it was used as a right of way. And during the rains, most of this area, if you see, it is like a trench, wide
what
trench, and used as a stormwater drain for the village.
So what you're essentially saying is that this double tracking is actually becoming a triple tracking or a quadruple tracking.
Yes.
In effect.
Exactly.
Because what's happening is that they are moving into areas which are beyond the double
Exactly.
tracking areas, and they are entering into areas that would either be right of way.
Correct.
Or used as spaces for the
See,
accumulation of water.
Basically, these areas it belongs to the villages or to the local panchayat
Right.
after it was
Right.
panchayats were created.
Right.
Because this land was, in their wisdom, our ancestors kept this land
Right.
as a buffer zone.
Right.
Also as vibration dampers, because
Right.
you see the land, if you see it is, there is a trench.
Right.
So these were also acting as a vibration dampers, because all along the route, actually the railway tracks were laid on a carriageway,
Right.
where horse cart, carriage, bullock cart, the palki mudaiti amchi. So all this thing, it was a route to go to the seaport.
And that has all been encroached upon.
So this has been encouraged. The current works which are going on right now are all illegal, because they do not have government themselves have said that there is no survey number for this. So how is that the RVNL
I'll just come to that, yes.
is constructing in those land where they do not have a possession?
Advocate, you had mentioned very rightly that there is a law which states that if there are multiple crops grown in any particular area, then that particular land has to be kept out of the land acquisition process. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. So before I coming to the part where crops are concerned, I would like to highlight what land acquisition actually means under Land Acquisition Act 2013.
Right.
So land acquisition is basically when the government is acquiring a particular land, a private land or a public land, for the sole reason of public benefit,
Right.
for public work.
Right.
However, in this case of double tracking, there is no public work that's concerned. It's solely used for a private affair, for a private cause. And the Act specifically says the welfare of public is paramount, without which land acquisition cannot come into picture, because land acquisition is particularly done by the government for the public as a whole, of a public benefit. However, under the same Act, it particularly states that it forbids land acquisition where the land is a multi-crop irrigated area.
Okay. That's a
However,
very important point.
yes.
Yes.
And it forbids. The proper word under the Act says it forbids.
And there is evidence to show that multi-crops have been grown in these
Yes,
areas.
in places like Welsau, Kansauli, there are multi-crops grown,
Right.
and not on a private basis, on on a larger scale. There are coconuts, as Orville rightly pointed out. There are multiple crops that are grown, which the RBNL has not taken into consideration, and their sole purpose is only to get the land And when we say acquire land, there is no certain measurement. When they were asked as to how much area is RVNL acquiring, there is no answer in specific. It looks like from the notices given, if today they are saying this particular area, I'm sure in the future they're going to acquire land beyond measures.
Okay. Now, but has this very important point been included in any petition or any argument in court so far?
Yes, it has been included in the High Court.
With
And the
regard to
matter is
which writ petition? The original writ petition, or there's a fresh one that has been?
There is a new petition that is coming up also.
Huh.
Yeah, we are giving rejoinders to that actually.
Okay.
So what has happened
Huh.
is the local panchayat
No, but
body-
you are giving it as an interlocutory application, IA, or is part of,
No,
or
see,
is a separate WP or a PIL?
This was a PIL
Ah,
in the
okay.
Supreme Court.
Right.
actually,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we are withdrawing that petition. This was panchayat, the local panchayat. That was only panchayat, the Valsam Pari Sursing panchayat,
Right.
which was a petitioner in that particular case. So the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, has told us to approach the lower courts, and we are approaching the High Court in this matter.
Okay.
This particular matter was regarding the right of way of the villages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you
And in that is the what we are calling that buffer zone.
okay. So what you are essentially saying is that you are going to do a separate petition
Yeah, exactly.
only on the buffer zone case.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, okay,
Exactly.
okay. Now, with regard to another important point here, which you all briefly mentioned, is that when you're kind of acquiring or entering into the buffer zone, okay, the buffer zone anyway does not belong to the railways.
Exactly.
Okay, they are getting into your
They
right
are,
of way.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Now, so where does this survey number controversy come about when in any case they are claiming that they have a right to enter into areas which they do not own because it is part of the entire process or part of their. So if that is the case, then the whole argument that this particular survey number does not belong to them doesn't really count, because in any way they have assumed that they can enter into areas even when they don't own it
Exactly.
as part of this. So I'm just trying to get a little clarity on this.
Yes,
Yeah.
but however, at the same time, with reference to the Act,
Yeah.
there's an entire process
Right.
that RVNL has to follow, or any government authority has to follow.
Right.
But at the same time, they have not done. There's a social impact assessment that needs to be done. A report of the entire area concerned needs to be given as to what social impact
Right.
will the project cause in
Right,
future.
right.
That's not done.
Right.
And that should be done with respect to the local government as well, which RVNL has not considered.
Right.
Then a public notification has to be put up.
Public notification for which? See, for this particular land already public notification has
Yes,
been put up,
yes.
which they have dismissed.
But what
You're
I'm-
speaking of which public notification?
Correct. But what I'm trying to say is there's a step procedure. What about the social impact assessment?
Okay. But is it mandatory?
Yes, it is mandatory under the law, because
Okay.
social impact shows that what impact the environment or around areas around are going to have. For example, this double track is basically
But this should have been challenged. You all could have got an order on this.
this is already one of the objection put before the
Right.
department, and we are going to take steps.
Okay.
One thing also I just want to add on.
Huh.
There was a very, very controversial amendment that was done.
Right.
I think it will also apply to the Boma as
Boma
well.
issue. Yeah.
There was this Goa Legislative Diploma Amendment Bill 2023.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh.
And it has received the assent of the governor on 16th of June this year.
Okay.
This pertains to the Kumindar lands.
Okay.
In our area, there are a lot of Kumindar land.
Right.
You know,
Right.
what it states is that the bill gives the government powers to suspend the Kumindar. Now, there could be some Kumindar that might object to
Right.
the land being given. So it states the bill gives the government powers to suspend the Kumindar, body and appoint government officials to take charge of the Kumindar.
Yes. Yes.
Now
Very
you
correct.
see how brazen they are in this. You see, because in our area, for example, in Majorda, they have objected. The Kumindar, the attorney, the president, they have objected, and the RVNL officials, they went to the tenants and they got cozy with the tenants. Let me put it that way, and they took over the land, and illegally they started construction at Majorda. Now, despite
This is the RVNL construction.
despite the Kumindar objecting, now when they are going to challenge, they'll put this act.
This is Komninath land on which
Yeah,
construction has started.
exactly.
Ah.
So you see how they are how brazen they are.
Supresh, do you feel that this can apply also to the Bhuma case?
Yeah, some minor part of land also belongs to Komdat
Right.
in
right,
Bhoma.
Right.
So we need to check with what Bhoma Komdat has to say on that. But as far as I understand, all the villagers of Bhoma are together and they are against the government decision of going ahead with this land acquisition.
So tell me, how many villages or how many homes or how many families are getting affected, and how many families may not be affected, but in spirit they are with this whole point.
Entire village with the people who are affected, the people who are not affected, they are with the people who are agitating, largely because see, there are certain customs, religious customs which happen surrounding those temples which are there
Right.
and which are directly in the land acquisition zone.
How
There
many
is-
temples would be there, Sanjay?
Around 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a tradition wherein a palki is brought from one temple to another temple from across this stretch of the road.
Right.
Now, if this road become 4 lane or 6 lane, how are they going to conduct this tradition? So see, when we are talking about temple will not be touched, it has to be in totality.
Absolutely correct.
Now
Correct.
here, and this social impact assessment should have been done. That is as per 2013 Land Acquisition Act.
Right.
But to bypass this provision, they are acquiring this land as per National Highway Authority.
Right. 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 Absolutely correct.
Now, as per National Highway Authority, if they need not consult any of the people, locals there for going ahead with the plans of land acquisition. If the land acquisition was done according to 2013's Provision Act, then they would, their primary requirement was they were supposed to get in touch with the villages,
Correct.
understand the social scenario of that village, and then only proceed with land
Has a
acquisition.
public hearing happened?
No,
Has a EIA happened?
that is
EIA
what the
report is
problem.
there.
EIA is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what the problem is. They are not getting in touch with the villagers. They are not convincing them. They are not putting out the exact plan. Only after huge hue and cry, people coming on roads, PWD minister is yesterday putting out a presentation to media.
Right. Right. Right.
That presentation he is not even sharing over social media or his official website.
So basically what you are saying is that the presentation made by the PWD minister explaining why this alignment is needed has not been explained to the people who are getting affected ultimately.
No, not
Right.
at all. He is doing this through media now.
So you are, secondly, you are saying a public hearing has not been held on this. Sanjay is saying EIA has been happened. And just tell us about the EIA report.
EIA report जेन्ना आमी वाचलो तेन्ना आतां तो सांगता स्टिल्साचेर म्हणून आमकां
Yes, bypass on stills. Correct.
स्टिल्स म्हणटा पूण EIA रिपोर्ट सांगता तो हेजेर उबो जाता फिलिंग करून मातयेचेर जेन्ना
There's a contradiction here only. Right.
45 lakh cubic meter जी बेल्लारीसून बोमान एश येतली पळय
Right.
ती स्टिल्साक लागून येतली हे फटयता आमकां सारकें म्हाका क्लियर करपाक जाय चार जी घरां म्हणटा तो फक्त ती डिवायड करपाक तेजेर म्हाका क्लियर करपाक जाय तुमच्या माध्यमांतल्यान कित्याक ही 4 घरां खंयची म्हणटा 2 घरां आमोणकाराची जी आसा ती मोडलेली घरां तितून कोण रावना ती लिगल आसा म्हाजें एक घर आसा तें आमी भाटकारा कडेन विकतें घेतलेलें तें लिगल आसा आनी एक फुडें नागजरी वाडो आसा पळय तेणें तशेंच विकतें घेतलेलें ही 4 घरां हो लोकांक कसो फूल करता जाणा आतां ते स्ट्रेचाक 10 घरां एका लायनीन आसा तेज्या फुडें आनीक 5-6 घरां आसा आतां तो सांगता कसो जी लिगल आसा घरां ती 4 घरां चोयता म्हणटा तो बाकीच्यांक कांय लागना आतां तो म्हणटा कितें लँड जी आमची अर्दीशी आमी म्हणटा देवळां वचना म्हाका क्लियर करपाक जाय देवळां जी आसा पळय लागलेली देवळां आमची फाटल्यान आसा तेका टच जायना आमची जी रयण आसा पळय जेन्ना ते पायलिंग करतले आमचो प्रॉब्लम कितें आसा पायलिंग जेन्ना करतले पळय तेजो इतलो इम्पॅक्ट जातलो तेन्ना ती रयण जी आसा आमची देवाची आनी आमचें कितें पळय आसा आमचें देवाचें तें आमकां खबर आसा थंय कशी भिरांकूळ हें येतली ज्या दिसा मेजपाक येयलो त्या दिसा तो भोंवंक लागलो सगळ्याक तेका राखणारे आमी आसा न्हू देव देवाक राखणारे तो राखोंक शकना, आमी आसा त्या खातीर एका मुठीन सगळे लोक घरा खातीर भायर सरोंक ना. हे म्हाका निलेश काब्रालाक सांगपाक जाय, हे गव्हर्मेंटाक सांगपाक जाय, आमी जे झगडटा ते आमच्या घरा खातीर न्हू, आमचे अस्तित्व देवाचे, आमचे ट्रेडिशन देवाचे, आमचे कालो, आमचे सगळे जे उत्सव आसा ते रस्त्यार जाता ते वाचोवपाक, आमची जी अस्मिकाय आसा, जी सोबीतकाय आसा, जी सगळी भाटां बेसां आसा ती सगळी थंय नटलेली आसा. ती सोबीतकाय आमकां जी 100% गांव आसा तितूंतली 80% जो गांव आसा तुमी ऑलरेडी आमकां फटयले गेले पयले जेन्ना युनिवर्सिटीक म्हणून ती जागा घेतली आनी तितून तुमी इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया हाडले आनी ती तुमी फाटल्या फावटी जेन्ना दिपक ढवळीकर MLA आसलो तेन्ना ती इंडस्ट्रियल झोन म्हणून केली. आतां हे लोकांक शिफ्ट बसून करताले, इंडस्ट्रियल झोनान शिफ्ट करताले तुमी, ती जी जागा जी दाखयता पळय आमकां 300 मीटर बीन ती इंडस्ट्रियल झोन म्हणून कन्वर्ट जाल्ली आसा. आयज जेन्ना तूं 91 एक्वायर केला म्हणटा जाल्यार म्हाका क्लियर करपाचें आसा, 91 काल तुवें म्हटलें पळय, पयलो तो 71 म्हणटालो. म्हाजें म्हणणें आसा हे विशयाचेर गव्हर्मेंट कन्फ्यूज आसा. हांवें कितलेच फावटी तांकां चॅलेंज केली, म्हाज्या समोर येया, ग्रावंडार झगडोया, आय एम रेडी विथ देम. हांव तांकां ग्रावंडार झगडपाक रेडी आसा, कोणीय येवन म्हाज्या फुड्यान बसपाक रेडी आसा, तेणी येवचें, खरी डिबेटी घेवपाक. कित्याक येयना ते कन्फ्यूज आसा, तांकां कांयच खबर ना हितूंतली. हे जे निवडून येयले ते 12 येयल्या, 10 आनी 11 जेन्ना एजिटेशन जाल्यार 91 जेन्ना तो सांगता आमी एक्वायर केला जाल्यार 2002 तुजो परिकर सरकार CM आसलो त्या टायमार तेणे बायपास कित्याक काडलो?
करेक्ट करेक्ट एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट.
हेजे उत्तर जाय म्हाका. आनी आयज घालता आसतना AI रिपोर्ट एक सांगता आनी तुमचे जे कर्म आसा ती वेगळी आसा. आयज तुमचे कडेन तुमी म्हणटा कितें 4च घरां वयता आनी तुमी जे एक्विशन आयज करता पळय न्हू, जे लोकांक बाबड्यांक खबर बसना, एक्विशन म्हणल्यार कितें, गेजेट म्हणल्यार कितें, गेजेट म्हणल्यार आमचो मालकी जो हक्क आसा लोकांचो तो NHI कडेन वयतलो, तो कोण दितलो आमकां? आयज तूं म्हणटलो कितें हेजोच रोड काडटा, तो तेजोच उरतलो फाल्यां. आयज आमकां फटोवपा खातीर तूं धाकटो रोड काडटलो, फाल्यां हेंची भुरगीं व्हडली जातली तेन्ना कोण झगडटलो? कित्याक ही जी जागा आसा ही आमची ऑलरेडी तुमी तांकां विकली आसतली आनी जेन्ना सरकार जो आसता तो 5 वर्सां खातीर आसता. तुमी आमकां आन्सर दिवपाक फाल्यां येतले? जेन्ना NHI वयल्यान रोड करूंक येतले त्या टायमार आमी कोणाक उत्तर दिवचें? तेजें उत्तर पयलीं आमकां मेळोंक
What
जाय.
has happened in the past, now Nilesh Cabral is claiming that land acquisition had happened in 1992. Similar methodology must have been adopted.
Absolutely correct.
Without informing the people, without explaining them what is at the stake, they must have acquired then in 1992 and now they are claiming that it is government's land, we have acquired that land in
So this
1992.
what Sanjay is saying, that the government appears to be completely confused and there's
Yes.
confusion. Do you really feel that this is confusion or it is a garb of confusion to hide a deeper reality?
Yeah.
I feel so. I feel so.
What is the deeper reality?
That government, see, we are also not able to clearly understand what government is up to. See, they are talking about development. But whose development? We are the people. No, the development should be surrounding us.
Correct.
And for us.
Correct.
The
Correct.
development should be for us. But in this circumstances, what is happening even in south, even in north now, even in our village wherein mining is the concern,
Yes.
it looks like they are more interested in their crony friends. They are more interested in the businesses of their friends as compared to locals, we Goans. And in this case also, I am 100% sure he is not giving the proper justification as to why he is not going for that bypass road. He is only giving a reason that it is not having the requisite alignment.
Right, right. So please, before we wrap up, because we got about 5 minutes left, if you can just tell us about the way forward, what villagers are planning to do, what are we going to see in the next couple of months? Because obviously you all are in no mood to back down and give up. So what is going to happen? What do we see from now?
We are going to explore all the possible remedies, be it legal, be it social, be it political. And good for us that Lok Sabha election is just round the corner. We had approached existing MP also, Mr. Shripad Naik. He has ensured that I will be with the people.
Right.
Now, how exactly he will be with the people, that we are also not understanding, because in these circumstances, I like to put forth a very interesting story from Mahabharata. After the battle of Mahabharata, when all the 5 Pandavas and Draupadi, they went on a pilgrimage. They accompanied one dog. And later on, at the end of the story, it was revealed that that dog was Yama. So I hope Mr. Shripad Naik is not in that manner with us.
Okay, very strong words, but I think these are sentiments talking. Well, coming back to the current agitation happening in Mormugaon and Salsett with regard to double tracking, what are the immediate steps ahead? One is, of course, the threat of the final step of the acquisition process.
Correct.
Secondly, saving the buffer zones. These are
Exactly.
two
Exactly.
aspects. And thirdly, of course, if you could also highlight a very interesting story that you said, that the certain villagers who were so part of this movement and those who agitated, that they're even refusing awards worth crores to
Exactly.
join the movement.
Exactly.
And just sum
Yeah.
it up a little bit for us. Yes.
See, we have a particular gentleman, and see, there are always the issues that landlords are, only at their, they want only benefit for them.
Selfish.
Selfish.
Yes.
Very good. That's the correct word. I couldn't get. Okay, but here we have a particular case, and the total amount earmarked for this particular land acquisition is about 100 crores. And out of this, the biggest beneficiary was one landlord from Isorsi, and he has been part of our
Can you take the
movement.
gentleman's name since he's a hero?
Yes, is Mr. Bruno Pereira.
Right.
Yeah, from Isorsi, and he was the biggest beneficiary. The amount being in excess of 6 crores 35 lakhs.
And he refused it.
And he refused. He not only refused it, but he also is now pushing and prodding me. When do we go to court?
So he's refusing that particular award
Yeah.
against his acquisition.
acquisition.
Yes.
And is pushing and prodding us, to take the legal means, to be part of the, that he will bear the expenses. Now herein I want to say that people like Bruno, they bring us the, hope,
And
for the
strength,
rest
yes.
of Goa,
Yes,
actually,
yes, yes.
And seeing that, I think most of the landowners who do not reside in these areas, I think they will also follow his example and stand with the rest of the villages who are afflicted, because most of the tracks, in certain section, it is only the Mudkars who are affected.
Right.
Okay, but having said that, there are a lot of impediments in our effort. I can recall that when we used to go to the deputy collector in Mormugaon, he used to always taunt us, "Tujhe yaar a cadastral plan aat rahe." So it never struck me until
What that meant.
What it meant actually. And he used to taunt us and give a very wicked smile, like. Now we understand, because we went, our team met, and we decided that we did our running around, went to the DSLR and all this here, and we found out verbally that they said it's not there. Cadastral plan
Is non-existent.
is non-existent. No, it was there, because based on that they have done the survey plan.
Okay. So what's the issue now?
The issue is that we have got through RTI a response from the revenue department that cadastral plan for the 3 villages, Valsam, Pali, Isorsi, have gone missing.
They have disappeared.
They have made to disappear.
Which the deputy collector obviously knew.
Exactly.
Right.
So this was there. Based on these records, the survey plan was done. Now what has the government done? Have they
Right.
taken any action? Has any criminal complaint filed? Because these are not small, these are of the entire villages. Now tomorrow, if we want to justify something from this previous record, where do we go? So you see how the local government has connived with the central government. I will also point out one more thing is, recently there was a notification in the press that local passenger trains have been discontinued because of the electrification works, in our areas. They have stopped the passenger trains, local passenger trains from running from Vasco da Gama to Kule, but those coal wagons are continuing
on a daily basis.
So
yes,
does
correct.
it that electrification doesn't affect the coal trains? Also, for that example, that we have the biggest fertilizer plant. Sometimes we had days on end, 4 or 5 days, we see their wagons stranded, I will say, at Kansali railway station, whereas the coal rakes are passing.
Passing by, correct.
So, for whom is this development? Is it for the people, or is it for only Mr. Jindal and Mr. Adani? who have their plants in Bellary, far away Bellary.
Right. Advocate Beto, if you could just sum up a little bit on the legal challenges ahead and the legal path that you're planning to undertake. What are the immediate areas where your legal intervention is immediately required and is being planned?
As mentioned, there's already a case filed before the High Court. We have filed a written objection before the Deputy Collector and we're waiting for their reply.
Right.
However, after we get a reply from the Deputy Collector, we'll be taking measures, going to the appellate authorities and filing. We say no to double tracking. We're not in their favor as there are already tracks which is underused
Right.
and which can be used to transport coals. Coal has no use in Goa at all. The state Goa is only used as a victim here. We are not beneficiaries at all in the double tracking matter. However, there are other means to transport coal.
Sure.
As Vishakhapatnam is one of
Correct,
one way that can happen.
That's right. Yes.
However, in this bargain, there are multiple houses in Velsa and neighboring villages which are ancestral houses, age-old houses, that are going to be washed away by RVNL. And it doesn't end only for these villages. In the near future, RVNL is going to use the neighboring areas for their plans of making RVNL waste disposal or using it for construction. And it's not only Velsa and the neighboring areas, however, that's going to go on to places like Majorda or
Yes,
Benali, Kolva.
Correct.
And the same thing from the other side, from Chandor, Kurtori, Maina, all of these places. So it's not only the battle of Velsa, Izosi, Kansauli, it's also the battle of the entire Goa. Goa as a whole, a state as a whole.
Sure. Okay, we have unfortunately run out of time, but this discussion can go on and on. The sad takeaway from this, however, is that this whole march of development is crushing those who are supposed to be developed. And this is happening everywhere. It's a march which has caused a death knell or raised the death knell of a lot of people who've been living here for ages and ages, whether it is in Boma or whether it is in Pale, Isorsi, Velsa, Majorda, Utorda, and all along the entire track. The larger narrative cannot be missed. It is all about the forces of quote-unquote development versus the forces who are supposed to be developed. And the people who are supposed to be developed are becoming daily victims of this whole march of development. In Bhoma, the sad irony and the bitter truth is that there exists an alternate way, a way which can save houses, a way which can save places of worship, a way which can save your heritage, your past, your traditions, your customs, and your daily way of life, and after all, the feelings that exist in each one's hearts. All this can be saved and protected if the basic common sense and the existing approach is followed. That simply use another bypass. And the point is, if you cannot use that bypass which is going to save all of this, please give an explanation as to why you cannot do it. The point here is that all that the villagers there are looking for are tangible answers. They are also looking at one more thing. They are asking a simple question, that the very highway that you opposed in 2010 is being proposed by you in 2023. Now, between this opposition and proposition, what is the story? Swapnesh hinted at the possible reason. Sanjay also did the same. The answer here is that these allegations cannot remain as allegations. They need to be replied to. With regard to the double tracking, again, it is the same saga that continues, where not only have you acquired land, but you are entering into buffer zones, you are entering into areas where multiple crops are growing, you are entering into areas and declaring it as a public purpose project when no public purpose seems to be achieved. And this is what has led to the current state of affairs. The point here is that if there are so many people who are antagonized, so many homes that are getting destroyed, so many brave people who are coming out onto the streets and fighting, people rejecting awards, then there must be something wrong in the basic system that is being applied to. When there are so many people up and about, people who are not even directly involved but have decided to pledge their lives and their time and their work to do this. There has to be some truth and some weightage given to the people view. The idea here is that if there is a government view and there is a people view, there needs to be reconciliation, there needs to be meeting of minds. You cannot have this conflict going on and on because it benefits nobody. Anyway, we will continue to raise these issues as we always do, and all one is asking the powers that be is to participate in conversations and give tangible answers. I thank all the panelists for coming here and giving their views. It's been a very intense and a very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.